everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about autoimmune problem. For me personally, I have rheumatoid arthritis and I also have Crohn's disease. And so today I just wanted to share with you my diagnosis of those things and what it's like dealing with that and inflammation and what I do to help feel better. And I've also learned that this is something that isn't uncommon for girls with Turner syndrome to develop autoimmune things. So yeah, and I'm going to talk about just how the severity of how it is for me and how it might feel for people that also have autoimmune stuff or diseases, and how it may vary for different people than what I experience. But so in general, one thing I want to say is that autoimmune diseases tend to cause fatigue, and I remember that this is something I had trouble with in the past few years in school. I found it more difficult to concentrate and everything, and I still kind of experience that to this day. It's a lot better than it used to be. I do remember feeling really tired, and yeah, so some days I would still feel that way. The first thing I was diagnosed with was rheumatoid arthritis, and I was diagnosed when I was 12 years old, and I noticed this because I had gotten pain mostly in my feet and hands. I couldn't sleep one night because I was such an excruciating pain in my feet. So my mom took me to the hospital in the middle of the night, and I got an x-ray, and I was told there that I looked like I had a sort of really small fracture on my foot, and I was given, like pain medication and everything, which obviously helped it feel better, but overall that was not the issue. So I would still be in pain and was always wondering what it was. My foot would be swollen, and I would get the same kind of thing in my hands. But yeah, it all started in my feet, went to my hands, and later on it ended up being everywhere, like in my knees and elbows, and yeah, just pretty much anywhere. After going to the doctor, a rheumatologist, and finding out that it was rheumatoid arthritis, that helped a lot in getting it, we got an answer about it, and it helped me kind of understand what it was. In my hands were really swollen, and I had to have a procedure for that to kind of get the fluid out, to drain the fluid. And so they tried to do that when I went in for surgery, but it didn't work. They couldn't drain the fluid out. So instead they put a steroid in my hand, or my hands, and it ended up just eating away at like the fat in my hands. And so now I still have problems with that. Two of my tendons, my index finger tendons on both hands have snapped, so I have to get physical therapy for those. And the one on my right hand is actually better, looks more normal, and the one on my left hand still is kind of like droopy. I don't know if you can see, but so I had to get physical therapy to improve that. And so I still have effects in that to this day. My hands are really weak, and I have like just kind of bony areas on my hands. But after that, I was prescribed Enbrel, which overall I think it would have been better if I was prescribed the Enbrel before I had to do the surgery, because the Enbrel worked like a miracle. I pretty much did not feel any pain after that, and pretty much I felt like I was in remission. Since I was young, I was still a child when I was diagnosed. They told me that a lot of kids can outgrow juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. That was not the case for me. I had hope that would be the case for me, but it wasn't. But yeah, I felt pretty much like I was in remission and that I was going to outgrow it because of the Enbrel. It made me feel a lot better, and I have a lot of days where, like most days, I feel like I'm in remission and I feel completely fine. So it's easy to forget about the fact that I had such painful days and everything. So that might be a case for some of you that have rheumatoid arthritis, but yeah, I know that was the case for me. Before I was on Enbrel, I was prescribed a bunch of different medications, like in pill form and stuff like that, stuff like methotrexate. A lot of you that have rheumatoid arthritis or any type of arthritis, you are probably very familiar with that. And I was given some different kinds of medications as well. Steroids, like prednisone twice, and those worked like a miracle for me. So yeah, I was prescribed that one time and I felt completely normal. And later on in life, I'll talk about that later, like later on down the line, that the second time having it, it worked like a miracle. But obviously taking stuff like prednisone is not good in the long term. So I was on Enbrel, and then eventually the Enbrel really stopped working because my body got so used to it, and I was told that can happen with all these medications, that after a while taking it, you might need to go down the line of list of medications because your body just builds up immunity to it. The reason that I noticed this was when I was in college in Hawaii about a few years ago. I had so many days where I was in so much pain. I couldn't walk, like I had to limp to class, and I couldn't even hold a pencil. My hand was swollen, and I ended up having like a cyst in one of my hands I had to get removed. And I don't know if that has anything to do with rheumatoid arthritis, but certainly inflammation. I had a bunk bed in my dorm, and I couldn't even really climb my bunk bed, things like that. Like, it was painful to the point where I just wanted to fly back home to California. I felt like I could not finish the school year if I couldn't even walk to class. And I tried like all these little remedies I could do at home, like some patches for pain, like pain patches. Obviously those help in the moment, but not the thing. I would continue taking my medication. The Enbrel, I would have to inject myself with Enbrel. Can't remember how often. I think once every 2 weeks. Yeah, once every other week. And I might have had to up the dose because of this, but it still did nothing. My rheumatologist sent over a prescription to my nearest pharmacy for prednisone. So this is the second time that I had to take prednisone, and felt a lot better. Felt like I was in remission. That lasted for like 5 days to a week. After that, it all came back, and in the meantime, I was trying to get an appointment with a rheumatologist in Hawaii, and there really wasn't. I'd have to wait a long time pretty much, and there wouldn't be really any point because by the time I actually was able to get into one, it would be almost time for me to go back to California because the school year would have been over. I eventually ended up finishing off the school year there. I can't really remember why I felt better to continue the school year, but luckily I did. Then when I got home for the summer, that summer was all about getting me stabilized. At this point, I had gotten into a school in London, so I was going to move there in the next semester. So obviously I had to get my health stabilized. I had to have a colonoscopy actually because, and this is where I get into Crohn's disease, which is another autoimmune thing I have. During all of this, I was also having problems with that. So this was something that had just come up, and I was feeling both of these at the same time, which is also the reason why I felt fatigued, that both of these autoimmune diseases were being at the same time. I do remember being in Hawaii, just being tired all the time, finding it hard to get up in the morning, finding it hard to focus. I had been told by people around me that I looked pale, and like I felt really weak in my head and everything, which could also be because of my cavernoma. But anyways, so I got a colonoscopy when I was back home, and they had found the Crohn's disease, and so then I was put on Humira. I was prescribed Humira, which I was told would also help with my rheumatoid arthritis because it helps with all inflammation, and that has been going really well so far. I've been feeling great on that. I've been feeling pretty much like I've been in remission this whole time. And fast forward to a year later, I recently had a colonoscopy in May and was told that it looks like I'm in remission from Crohn's disease. So I feel a lot better there too. There are days where that still kind of causes me problems, but overall it definitely was not as bad as it used to be. And also what I have done to help with that, I've also been going to a homeopathic doctor, and homeopathy has really kind of helped me feel better. I feel like it's always best when you have things like this, it's always best to have a mix of medicines and stuff, but also like medications and stuff, anything that helps you, but also maybe having some more like natural stuff as well, because the more the better, in my opinion. And from the homeopathy, I have gotten supplements, and it's helped me eat more organic food because that's something that I've been recommended by my doctor. The doctor I go to for that has also been able to look at other problems with me by, interestingly, she can take a camera and take a picture of the iris of your eye, and she puts it up on the screen, and she can see pretty much little details about what's going on in your body. And it's also kind of helped me get more answers as to what I've been experiencing, because I feel like there's things that I experience all the time, but I don't really have the answer for them. Like, why do I feel this way, or why do I have this? And it kind of solidifies what those things are. So for example, like nerve issues, and I had like lower back problems with nerves and stuff. You can see that kind of stuff. And if you've watched my cavernoma story, you know that caused a bleed in my brain. And last time I went there, she could see that in my eye. She said, yeah, I can see that you've had some sort of brain bleed. And she asked me, and looking at that, she also asked me if I had some seizure activity, and I told her that I had, because the cavernoma had caused that. So yeah, just little things like that, and it's really tailored to you. So if that's something that you're interested in, if that helps, I would recommend it. I also recently did acupuncture for the first time. I went to an acupuncturist, and that was an interesting experience. And I would say overall that helped me feel a lot more relaxed. And even that, you always have to think about the issues you have, and so it kind of puts you in a state of relaxing, even your mind. Even if you don't feel like it does anything for you health-wise, that is something that might be a great thing, or that is a great thing. I do feel like for me, that helps with inflammation. And she said that inflammation is something that you will feel gradually after acupuncture, like a few days after. You'll feel it gradually just go down and feel better. And I do feel like I've noticed that. It's also, at this point, I feel like I'm also immune to this stuff. So maybe I do have inflammation and stuff, but because I've dealt with it for so long that I don't really, like, it almost feels normal. So while I'm saying this stuff, and it feels like it maybe to me hasn't, like, it feels like it hasn't done a lot, hasn't changed drastically, I would say that it has helped quite a bit. In fact, I feel like it would feel like it had more of an effect if I was in a lot of pain and everything, but recently I haven't been. So far, because I haven't felt that pain, what the homeopathy and acupuncture have felt like for me is it has helped me felt more relaxed about it. And since I last video, I have gotten a lot of rashes all over my body due to medication I was on because of rheumatoid arthritis. I was given that medication recently. It's called hydrochloroquine or Plaquenil. And the reason I was given that was because I noticed that I started getting little bumps on my legs. That started in March, and I went through a whole thing about getting an x-ray for it and everything, and didn't look like anything serious. I had an ultrasound for that as well. So the hydrochloroquine basically is to get rid of those bumps, which I was told by rheumatologists, is due to rheumatoid arthritis, and they're called erythema nodosum. I had an allergic reaction to that and had a bunch of rashes on my body, so I was then taken off of hydrochloroquine, and I am now on prednisone again. So actually this is the third time I've been on prednisone, and so the prednisone has helped to get rid of those rashes, and I have 3 more days of taking prednisone, and it's also helping to get rid of those bumps that I had on my legs, so I don't have those anymore. So yeah, overall, I personally, due to everything I've been doing to combat my health and all of that, I feel like I am pretty much in remission, but I still have to do things to make sure that it stays that way, and that I only improve. I don't get any worse. That overall the inflammation gets less and less, and so I don't have a lot of inflammation in my body anymore, which I feel is something, like I've said earlier, I don't really notice anymore. But overall, that's how I feel. And I also, if you have Crohn's disease, I would say that Humira is great for that, and also, like I've mentioned, great for all types of inflammation. So maybe if you have what I have, if you have 2 different kinds of autoimmune things, maybe that's an option for you. Talk to your doctor about that. So anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.